that's what therapy helps you to understand, is that you don't always have the answers, and you're not always right.
All right, as we move on to our next topic, we're going to get into therapy. I just want to break this down as far as the stigma that we put on therapy. Do y'all think that you should get a therapist that is comes from like a similar background or knows your kind of experiences? Do y'all think everybody needs therapy? So let's get into this therapy talk. Who wants to go first, man? What is your personal experience with therapy as well?
Yeah, I've done therapy. I haven't done it in many years, but there was a period of time in my life where I felt that I needed to at least express myself in a space where it was non-biased. You know what I mean? Just somebody that didn't know me, not a friend, not a family member, not a confidant, not somebody that I ran to, lay my troubles and my sorrows down or whatever the case may be, and to maybe possibly work through some hidden things that I didn't know about. So I found myself, tapping into therapy, and I did find it helpful. But I am one too that sometimes I feel like certain things I lean into a lot and I don't progress enough to stand on my own. So I decided to remove myself from therapy just to try to see if I can put things into play for myself that I could have learned from therapy, or that, some places where I grew stronger, and to see if I can stand on my own. But I do feel that I do need to get back into it because I've acquired a lot of new shit that I need to work through. But I feel like everybody should. I just feel like it's so much weight just on everybody that comes from all different directions, whether it be work, whether it be family, whether it be relationships, whether it be personal shit, whether it be parenting, whatever it might be. I just feel like we all have so much on our plates that just talking to someone and just having that release, or just finding new ways to cope and to deal and to advance your mental, I feel like therapy is good.
All right, before you speak on your experience now, I want to ask both of y'all, do y'all think that it's easier or better to talk to somebody who's supposed to be licensed in this area or whatever, or do y'all think you feel more comfortable talking to a peer, spouse, or a family member?
I used to shun talking therapy. Like I used to be like, that shit ain't going, that ain't for me. I don't need that. Like what they gonna do? What they gonna say to me or do for me that they don't know me? What can they offer me? Right? I am an avid supporter of therapy. I spoke on this, and I think I've now been in therapy for a good year and a half. My journey started last year, probably around July of 2023, and we're now in, no, 2022, and it's now November going into December of 2023, about to turn the calendar over. And I've spoke on this extensively. Every Sunday I make sure I go. There's not a Sunday that I miss unless I'm outside of the area, if I'm on vacation. And I even got it down to a science of where I even have conversations through phone calls just to continue that line of open communication, because it's necessary and needed. Because what it has done for me is it has opened up doors in my mind.
Do you feel like you share things with your therapist that you wouldn't with your people?
I do, because it's an open forum of non-judgment, right? And then I allow the judgment to come because I'm allowing someone to hear what I'm laying down, and it's I'm listening, and I'm only objectively speaking once I heard what you said. Now I'm not speaking to be defensive about what you said. I'm not speaking because my feelings are hurt. I'm speaking from a level of clarity because you put this here, and now you're allowing me to critique or even mentor or even medicate the mind. And that's what I've learned from my experience of looking at this as a therapeutic session. That's why I said often I come on the show. This show is therapy for me. It allows me to release every possible thought that I have in my mind at the time, and it leaves me empty but refreshed at the same time, right? And I use it, and I know I'm super long winded when we're doing these kind of conversations, but that's my release. That's me doing that. Another question I think that you asked or you didn't ask that I just want to touch on is therapy is necessary, because even when I don't have the opportunity, you know what? One of the perils of one of the great lessons that therapy has taught me is to open up and ask questions.
Right.
I ask people, was I wrong?
Right.
It was an incident that I had this past week, in prime time. Not going to go into detail, but after it, my conscience laid on me heavy. One, because the person that I had the conflict with, I care about. The person that I had the conflict with, I consider them a friend. So it bothered me because now my conscience has now kicked in like, yo, all right, okay, I get it. It was that. It didn't have to go that far. It went that far. All right. So I actually reached out to people and said, tell me what you've seen. Tell me not only what you've seen, but tell me, was I wrong? And don't bullshit me. Tell me that I was wrong. Tell me where areas of opportunity that I can have for myself to learn and grow from that. But tell me how I could have handled that better so it didn't get to that point. That's what therapy has taught me, to not be so caught up in my own mind and thinking that I was right, but find areas of opportunity how I can better myself and how I can better a situation to where I can find clarity from others to, all right, well, tell me what your opinion is. Talk to me about that, because I don't, even if I felt right or justified in that moment, I still need to understand where my faults were or where they lied at. And I had extensive conversations, and I was told, yo, I get it. I see. I understand. But maybe if you would have taken a minute to breathe, or taken a minute just to understand that ain't whatever. It didn't, may have not have to go there. So now I deal with going back, looking, understanding, taking my emotions out of it, and allowing my brain to process that. And that's what therapy has helped me to do. Has helped me to understand and seek the counsel of others instead of just myself, because we can be a detriment to ourselves and far more than we can be of help, right? And that shit right there is maturity and growth. And that's what therapy helps you to understand, is that you don't always have the answers, and you're not always right.
Facts.
I want to ask both of y'all. Well, I'll speak on my therapy thing first. So the only time I've been to like couples therapy, but I'm not going to go. So when the only time I really like been in therapy was like when my dad died. I had to go to therapy, and I was 12, so I didn't really like understand the process or understand the magnitude of what am I even doing here and why am I even talking to a stranger. So I guess I kind of didn't get it then. So my question is, like, I don't think I need it now, because I feel like I can handle things internally, and I can go through the process in my brain and kind of see where I was wrong, where I need to go, what I need to do, X, Y, and Z. I feel like I could pretty much figure things out. But my question is, do y'all think that therapy should be age-based or circumstantial-based?
It's based upon, can I
Absolutely.
interject real quick? It's based upon your readiness. It's not going to be aged, gender-based, religion-based. It's not going to be circumstances-based. It's going to be when you are ready personally.
Like, this is what I'm
accept-
saying. Like, say if it's a little girl who's 8 or 9 and she gets molested or everything. do you think that she is even mentally ready?
That's a great question. Because I don't know if she understands what that looks like for her later on in life. You can like we can like she could go to a mentoring session or a therapy session and honestly not even understand who this person is and why they're there, right? That's why I said it's totally based on your readiness and mental. You mentally have to be ready for any and everything that you're going to do when you're there, because the outpouring of emotions that come with just opening your heart to someone, hearing and being critiqued, that's a process. Understanding that you're trying to get back to a mental clarity or mental health on the opposite side of, you want to get to a positive mental health side, and that takes time. Because we think we're cleared after one session. Oh, I was there once or twice and I'm cool. I said what I said. Everything was like, but until you've reached a point of mental satisfaction, and when is that ever? When is ever as we get older, things hit us even more. Like when I was in my 20s, I could care less about half the shit that I got to go through in my 40s. I don't even have those same responsibilities. I got to worry about me, them, him, her, that, and that. I ain't had to worry about that in my 20s, or even if I did, I said, I'll worry about that later on in life. But now I see my time on earth is getting shorter and my responsibilities are getting greater. So how do I manage that mentally? I can't manage it myself because I don't have all the answers. And I needed that outlet, which was just sitting down and talking to somebody. Now, you asked the question to family, spouse, friends.
That's exactly the point I was getting ready to touch on. So that's perfect.
It's easy to think that we have those outlets, and our family, our spouse, our friends say, I'm here for you. But some of the shit that you say in these therapy sessions, they can't handle. They wouldn't be able to handle it. And it's not that
Trying to tell each when she says she want to know everything.
It's not that you trying to assassinate.
People can't fucking handle.
It's not that you're trying to assassinate somebody's character. That's my feelings, and my feelings should. And that's what therapy does. It gives you the opportunity to be heard, but to really be heard, and not, I hear you, but now I gotta fucking bash you because you feel that way. And that's what's hard about talking to people that love you, because they always want to fix you.
Yeah, but it's speaking from the circumstantial point and the age point, and just in regards to the reference that you made, like the 8-year-old who's been molested. Just in regards to talking to family and people that are close to you, you know, depending on who you speak to, you're always trying to be in a pleasing light. So therefore, you're not getting what you need in having discussions with them, because you're not being fully transparent, because you want to remain in a pleasing light. Yeah. So an 8-year-old might not understand what the depths of speaking to a stranger is, but she's just going through such a traumatic point in her life that she should be able to speak to someone where she does not have to please them, where she does not have to feel ashamed, where she doesn't have to say, well, if I'm talking to mommy, I don't want mommy to know specifically what, you know what I mean? Because there are some limitations and restrictions sometimes, when even as adults, when we're speaking to family members, spouses, or whatever. And that's, again, that might just be me, because of course I like to work towards perfection. It's exhausting. It's not realistic. But and I've grown out of that a lot. But I lived there for a long period of time, trying to reach levels of perfection. Each day it was a challenge for me. I challenged myself to be better and better and better and better, and get and do. But when you're dealing and talking with people through certain things, family members, you're trying to remain in a pleasing light. You can't get therapy. You can't get real true answers if you're not being transparent enough. So when you go to
is that always the case?
No, not all the time, but a good portion of the time, that is somewhere, sometimes in the back of people's minds.
2 shows ago, you said that you didn't get to a place of maturity until your 40s. So in our 20s, teens, 20s, even 30s, we don't really know what that looks like until we get to a place of maturity. So that 8-year-old doesn't know what that sexual abuse is going to do to her when she gets in her 20s or 30s, because now she may be in her 30s after being molested at 8 and picking all the wrong men because they can do something sexual for her body and make her feel good, that fills that void of something that she was getting at 8 and she didn't understand that was wrong. And sitting down speaking to somebody at 8 ain't gonna give that, ain't gonna have that, it ain't gonna resonate the same way it is in her 30s, because now she understands, I'm doing shit the backwards way because I'm trying to recreate something that was a not a feel good, but something that gave me whatever, that showed me love, because somebody that was taking advantage of me, I thought that was what love was. So it depends on when you reach a maturity level of mentally and how you process that, and being able to realize how you're now able to psychologically deal with those traumas, and how you're going to open up and give that trauma the opportunity to come out.
Right.
All right,
Now,
so
as a real quick, as a child that somebody had to deal with that trauma as a child, not going to therapy, hiding it, I feel like that was more detrimental than sitting me down in front of somebody that I could have expressed myself to.
Yes, absolutely.
And so I do see it's a slippery slope, and it can go either way. It may not be a beneficial thing, or it may in fact be something beneficial. And I feel the latter, having the ability to, can be no worse. It can only be a more beneficial thing than to, say, okay, well, she might not understand the effects of what it is doing for her now because she's too young, but removing that option, I think, can be more detrimental.
Our society is mocked, and our society is often imitated, right?
Hold on now. I want to ask Aisha a question.
Okay.
In that space, at that age, would you would have felt more comfortable with a therapist or with a family member?
No, definitely with the therapist.
Okay.
Definitely with the therapist, because I felt that I could not speak to my family, or because I felt that I did not want to be ashamed in front of my family, I said nothing, and I harbored it.
And that's what I was going with that with my next question. My next question kind of comment. Our society is often mocked and imitated when it comes to a number of different things, right? Music, fashion, the way we carry ourselves, the way we do our hair, everything. But our society is also very, very ignorant when it comes to stuff like therapy, because we look at that as being, oh my God, something's wrong with you. Something's wrong with my child if I have to put him in therapy. I don't want people to judge me. I don't want people to think something's wrong with me. So we shun that, when that thing is actually a gift that's there for us to, as you said, help us get through those traumas, right? Because at early ages, if we start to understand how to express ourselves, we're able to do that unconventionally and without conditions, and just allowing somebody to say, hey, this is what you did to me, or this is how you made me feel, and allowing that person to understand, and then moving past that and not keeping those traumas hidden behind these doors, and making somebody else be responsible to knock those doors and walls down on us, only to let those traumas be exposed on them, and then them being overwhelmed with that, and now trying to fix you, and now trying to fix yourself, and it's just so many connotations that come with that. If we learn from an early age on how to communicate those pains, those hurts, those difficult moments, it helps us to not keep those things bottled up, and allows us to move through life without crutches or demons.
All right. So, speaking in the circumstance space, do y'all think, like, say if something happens to you, whether you see somebody get murdered in front of you, whether you go through an earthquake, whatever kind of trauma that happens to you, do you think that person should absolutely speak to a therapist?
We just don't because we don't think it's fly.
No, but I mean, do you think that they should?
Yeah, absolutely. That's pain that you're living with, and that's fear that you're putting inside of yourself because you've seen that and you're like, damn, I got to stay away from that. And at all costs, you're trying to avoid that. So there's a lot of things that you do to shield yourself from that, right? Instead of living life.
Yeah, thanks.
Like, could you imagine you like if you was in an accident, that might stop you from what if you were in an accident as a child or you accident as a whatever, you might not want to drive no more because that's a pain that you've seen firsthand.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I can't go. Like, honestly, it's hard for me to go into South Philly by the projects because my best friend was killed there. I have a trauma that affects me from going into a certain area because I can't deal with that area because it took away joy from me. How do I internalize that? I gotta go to that area at some point because it's part of Philly. I gotta drive past it, through it, or whatever. Or do I totally avoid it and shield myself off from that part of life because of it, that trauma? That's what I've done. Because we deal with trauma differently when we don't have the opportunity to unload those mind fucks.
I think absolutely. I think it absolutely depends on the person's mentality. So I think some people who, depending on how you deal with things, I think more or less most people should go just to talk out their experience and that trauma. Because some people let their minds run wild in these instances, and they be like having nightmares or can't sleep, can't eat, those kinds of things. I think those people should absolutely speak to a therapist. What do they call it, man? I went and talked to the lady. That's what they call it, man. I went and talked to the lady. Man. Did you go talk to the lady? Yeah, I went and talked to the lady, man. Go talk to the lady, people, if necessary, and get your therapy out one way or another. Like, I use this platform or this show to vent. That's why I often say I tell my people not to watch because I might be speaking of things that may be hurtful for you. And I'm just speaking on my experience, but it may be hurtful for you. So you may not want to see or hear that, but this is my safe space to vent. So that's what it's here for me.
I don't think people truly understand that. People say they loyal and they love you, but people gotta understand you should be able to speak freely without them feeling attacked.
Right.
This is my truth. Right. So if you say you love me and you're there for me, allow me to be in my truth without you getting upset. Because now, if you don't, now I keep everything to myself, and I won't be freely to come talk to you. That's why I said we got to stop telling people, "Oh, I'm here for you," but really not there for you. Because the moment somebody tell you something that you don't like or you get offended by, now you get in your feelings, and now it ain't safe no more. Like, stop critiquing everybody for their truth. Like, you just can't hold somebody hostage because they speak their truth.
Do y'all think that y'all will want to do in the future couples therapy? I'm not opposed to it, but I need some open-minded people.
You know why? Because couples therapy and the therapist holds both parties accountable. Because they hear something that you don't hear. They are an objective mind. They're not in that relationship 24/7. They don't have no investment in that. So when you are not invested into something emotionally, because that's what it be. The intelligence, the intelligence of the situation is you're artificially intelligent because you're allowing your emotions to dictate why you're in the space. If you remove the emotion of it and go back to logic, the logic is we're at an impasse because we're at an impasse on something that we can't get past because it's emotional. The moment you remove that emotion out of it and you start looking at a thing from a perspective of, okay, this is what the problem is. If I put this together and that together, now we got the problem is equal. That no emotion that what came in that to make you get to that answer. It was full fact based information that helped you get to that. So now we can start to put the equation together and figure it out.